I've got another shell challenge for you today, and I swear this one is not as scary as last time. If you've never seen one of these, basically a shell challenge is where I build a weird, scary box shell of a building, and then I put that on the gallery for you to download and try and turn into a real build. So here's our shell this time. I'm calling it the Simsie chicken shell because it kind of looks a little bit like a baby chick. I don't know, you can see its nose, maybe it's got a tail over here. And the rules of a shell challenge are really simple. Basically, I have built this shell and you cannot remove, adjust, or change any of these existing walls. So when you download it, you can add interior walls, you can add platforms and balconies and roofs and landscaping and literally anything you want. You just can't move any of these walls. At the end, your shell should be the same as my shell. So for example, you aren't allowed to like make this smaller. You can't choose to replace a wall with a fence because all of these existing walls have to remain where they are. You can, however, change the wall height. You can add foundations. You can also add fences to the outside. You can add half walls to the outside. You just can't add real walls to this building. Does that make sense? So if you're thinking, I'd like to add a room right here. No, don't touch my walls. That's cheating. So I've got it on the gallery for you to download. Basically, you just find this Simsie chicken shell item, download the lot, turn it into something, and then put it back up with the hashtag Simsie chicken so that I can find it. And now that I've explained to you the challenge, I'm gonna show you what I did with mine. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about our sponsor today, 2 Dots. 2 Dots is a free-to-play puzzle game that is so much fun. In it, you basically solve puzzles by connecting dots, but as you're playing, you travel through gorgeous worlds, you collect new collectibles, you unlock new gameplay mechanics as you go. I've been playing this game a lot at night to unwind before bed because it's so relaxing. You can kind of play at your own pace too. There's not like clocks or timers or anything to worry about or stress you out. They've got weekly events like a scavenger hunt where you find items on a map, kind of like Where's Waldo? And they also have weekly treasure hunt events where you play through 7 special levels to unlock some unique rewards. I have really enjoyed playing this game recently, and I think that you're gonna like it too. It's also got like 115 million downloads globally, so clearly a lot of people have the same feeling about it. 2 Dots is free to play on both iOS and Android, so if you're interested in checking it out, I've got a link down below you can download it from. Like I said, this game is super, super cute, and I think you're gonna really enjoy it, so thank you so much 2 Dots for sponsoring this video. So with that all being said, I want to show you what I did for my own attempt at this shell challenge. So you can see that I brought this lot over into Brindleton Bay, and I immediately rotated the building. So just to answer any questions you might have, you can obviously change the lot it's on, you can rotate it, again, you can change the wall height, you can change the foundation. I added a porch and a roof, so all of that stuff is completely fair game. The only thing that you can't do in a shell challenge is change the existing walls. So if you've got any questions like, am I allowed to add this or am I allowed to do this? The answer is almost definitely yes, as long as it doesn't involve deleting or changing one of the existing walls. Like they need to be in the same place at the end. Does that make sense? Now for my own shell version, I kind of tried to make like a more cabin-y inspired build this time. This one is a little bit weird because it's smaller than normal. Usually with shell challenges, I make them 2 stories because it kind of makes it more difficult when it's a little bit taller because it's harder to do the roofing. But with this one, I wanted to do something small so it's a little bit more attainable for like the average person or like maybe a newer builder. Here's the thing. The last time we did a shell challenge, I was urged by my evil Twitch chat to do something terrible. It was the worst, most nightmarish shell I have ever done. It was 3 stories. Big mistake. Very big mistake. It was literally called the big mistake shell. Like that was the hashtag for it. Never again. I will never, ever, ever fall for my Twitch chat's tricks again. And so this time I was like, no, we're doing a 1-story house. It's gonna be small. It's gonna be attainable. And I don't want to even hear a peep about a 2nd floor. No. So this one is a little bit easier, I think, than our last shell. Obviously, it's still pretty difficult. It is always really hard to do the roofing on stuff like this because it's very different from how you normally build a house. At least how I normally build a house in The Sims, because oftentimes you'll build a shape and then you'll realize, oh, this is weird. I can't fit a roof onto this in a normal way. And then you just like change the shape of the house, make it a little bit wider, make it a little bit skinnier, add an extra room to make the roof more interesting. But on this, because you're stuck with the existing shell, you obviously can't do that. So it's really tough to try and figure out roofing and floor plans. You will see that I struggled a lot to do the floor plan on this one. I kept all of the footage in of me trying to do the floor plan because I think it kind of helps to see that like, look, I had a hard time with this too, but I managed to make it be 2 bedrooms. It's also 2 bathrooms and it has a closet. I think ideally I wouldn't have had like that random closet in this house. I think it's kind of fun to have a closet space in a house like this, but also normally in a house this small, I think I'd rather have that space for like something different. But obviously with the floor plan being the way that it was and with the shell being the shape that it was, I couldn't really put anything else there because I needed a flat wall for a kitchen. So I ended up just like closing it it off and put in some clothing racks in there, which is honestly kind of cool. It's fun to have something a little bit different than normal. This house also has laundry. In the weird little duck beak part of the chicken, I managed to put a little laundry room. It's actually kind of interesting because the door to that laundry room is on the outside of the house. So it's kind of like a little like storage closet next to the front door, but accessed from the outside. I could have put a door on the inside, but I chose on purpose to do it from the outside because I thought it was kind of cool. It's a little bit different than how I normally do these builds. That duck beak part though, I guess I should say chicken beak. It's the chicken shell. But that part is going to be really interesting with this shell challenge because it's kind of like the weird odd one out of the shell. And it's always fun to see what everybody does with those like odd parts of shell challenges, because that's the thing. When we do these shells, everybody has such different visions for them, because obviously I built this sort of like cabiny, older looking house, but maybe you'll choose to build a restaurant or like a modern house. Maybe you'll make an art studio or a cafe, or, you know, there's so many different things people can turn this box into. And I just love seeing what everybody does and how everybody is so creative with it. I'm actually gonna link the shell tours video from our last shell challenge down below if you want to go back and watch that. With these, I always do like the speed build video, and then after a couple of weeks, I make a video touring some of the cooler ones off the gallery so that you can all see them. And it's so fun because I'll pick like 10 to 15 different shells to show you, and literally everybody has done something completely different. There'll be like an alien house, there'll be a little farm cottage, maybe somebody made it into like a factory. Like, people do such different things, and I love that part of the shell challenges. It's always so fun to see them all. Honestly, right now, if you go look at the hashtag Simsie chicken on the gallery, because I built this on stream first, so when you're seeing this, a lot of people have already done the shell because they've been doing it since stream. So if you go look at the hashtag right now, you'll probably see like so many cool builds already. I just love it. I love shell challenges. I get so excited. It's kind of a fun community thing because we all do it together. I don't know. I really like these. I know a lot of you do too. So if you want to do it, again, it's on the gallery if you want to grab it. Oh my gosh. And speaking of fun community things, I was just reminded of the funniest story. So the other day, one of my Twitch mods was just going to the grocery store. She was at Tesco or something, I think, in the UK. And as she was walking into the store, a bunch of people walked out of the store wearing Simsie merch. It was a group of like 3 or 4 people, she said, and they were all wearing my merch. Like, they had the Simulation Gaming Club t-shirts on. I think that is the coolest story I have ever heard. She didn't say anything to them. She didn't like mention it because I think it's one of those like in passing, you're just kind of too shocked to bring it up. But I think that's so funny. If you were one of those people, if that was you, you know it was you because you and your friends were all wearing matching shirts. Please tell me, please like tweet at me or something because I love that. That's actually happened a couple times to my Twitch mods now, which is unfair because I've never seen anybody in my merch in public. But one of the times, one of my other friends was at Target wearing one of my merch hoodies, and somebody else in the Target was like, oh my God, lilsimsie. And then Maggie got to be like, yeah, I mod for her on Twitch. And the girl recognized Maggie's username. Like, she watches my streams and like knows Equippy and has seen her in the chat before. And I just think that's so fun. I love the idea of like just running into somebody else wearing the merch in public. One of these days, I will see somebody in Simsie merch. Okay, also, I realize this makes it sound like it's all just a really roundabout plug for my merch, but it's not. It just was a funny story that felt appropriate, okay? But speaking of my merch, it's on sale right now. I realize that saying this now makes it sound like it's a plug, but I swear it's not. That wasn't the intention. But my merch is on sale right now. Everything on the store is 10% off, and if you buy a shirt, they're buy one, get one half off. So if you want those discounts, my merch shop is linked down below, and you can use code SUMMERSALE to get the 10% off. But you can tell in the house, we've made a lot of progress with the furniture. This is gonna sound weird, but I went for kind of like a brown and teal color scheme. Basically, I wanted to have a lot of like deep, like jewel toned colors, I guess, on the inside. I loved the rug that I used from Cats and Dogs underneath the dining table. That was kind of the inspiration for everything else, and I kind of had everything else kind of fit around it. I used the really interesting like bluish cabinets from the Vampire Pack. We've got that beautiful cottage living couch. I think that the floor plan of the living space in this house came together really well. Like, it's got a lot of space, but it's also an open floor plan, but it all kind of flows well. I don't know. I feel like considering it's a shell challenge, this all fit pretty easily. Again, it's just one of those things where when you're doing these shells, sometimes it's very, very difficult to figure out the floor plans. And I feel like it's kind of a sign of success when you do the shell and it doesn't feel like you were stuck in the shell, you know? I don't think there's anything super weird about this floor plan that would make you look at it and think, oh yeah, that's probably a shell challenge, because that's weird. Which happens a lot because when you do shell challenges, sometimes people like me, do really bad things, like put really weird bump outs and weird diagonal walls to work around. And so you can kind of tell when you look at it, like, oh, you probably didn't want that to be there, but you had no choice because of Simsie. But I don't think this one has anything like that, where you're like, oh, you probably didn't want that, but you were stuck with it. This one one seems okay to me. I guess the only thing that I thought was a little bit weird was all of the doors that I have kind of in the hallway. I think it ended up looking all right because I made them have like the little diagonal walls for it, but I would have liked to have had maybe a little bit bigger of a hallway space to enter into all the bedrooms. I don't love how there's just doors like along an entire wall basically in the house. I did try and add some decorations like some plants and a thermostat to kind of like break up that wall of doors, but I think if it were not a shell challenge, I probably would have like maybe expanded the house by like one tile on the right side just so that I could have a little bit more space to have a proper hallway and not have the rooms be too small. And I guess the other like maybe weirdest thing is that the only door to the backyard is from the main primary bedroom. That's not like a deal breaker or the end of the world, but it just would have been nice to have another door to the backyard from the rest of the house. It's just like so small it didn't really fit. There is a door from the living room onto a back porch, but like basically there's two outside sections of this house. There's like the backyard that's fenced in to the left, and then on the right there's a little small back porch space, and they're not connected. And you can access that porch from the main house, but the backyard is only from the bedroom. And I feel like in an ideal world I probably would have flipped those things and had the porch be like a private balcony off the bedroom and the backyard be accessible to the rest of the house, but oh well, it's too late now. It's done. So I did manage to fit in everything else I felt like I needed though. We've got a computer, we've got a TV, there's even laundry, there's 2 bathrooms and 2 bedrooms. Like it feels like it's a pretty decent space. It's kind of playable in that way. In the backyard, I managed to fit in like a little flower arranging table. There's some garden stuff. We've got a swing set. On that back patio, there's a grill and a table outside. There's fairy lights. I did almost put a hot tub, but I just couldn't get it to fit right. I was so close to putting one on that back porch, but I couldn't find a spot where the hot tub actually seemed to make sense. It just looked a little bit too big. The one kid's bedroom is pretty small. It's only a few tiles wide, but it fits all the necessities. It's got a bed, it's got a dresser, and it's got some toys and stuff for the kid. I ended up basing the whole color scheme off of this quilted bed from Cats and Dogs. It's kind of got a lot of like red, purple, and pink in it, and I thought it looked so good. I loved using the red as like an accent color, and there's a couple little light blue things too. This might even be one of my favorite kids' rooms that I've done in a long time. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say because it's so small. I just really liked the color scheme in there. It's very different from what I normally do, so I had a lot of fun building that one. I also kind of tried to clutter it up and use a lot of decor. Like I put a lot of items on the little nightstand and stuff. I was just kind of overcompensating for how small the room is. I knew I couldn't have a ton of things in here, so I was like, I gotta try and make this small space seem lively. And I think it worked out okay. I am so curious to see what you all do with this build. I'd love to see how many bedrooms you can manage to fit in here, because I feel like you could probably make this a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. Mine is 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and closet, but I feel like if you found a better way to orient it, you could probably have 3 bedrooms in here. Consider that a challenge. And by the way, just as far as shell challenges go, again, like we talked about all the rules and what you can and can't do. Like I said, if you've got any questions, ask yourself, am I changing Simsie's walls? If the answer is yes, then don't do it. I get a lot of questions about whether or not you can add a basement or a second floor or anything. You can't, because that's changing the shell. If you add a basement or a second floor, like that completely changes what the shell of the building is. You can add like a shed or a greenhouse or something as long as it's not touching the building, because that's not like adjusting the main shell, right? If that makes sense. But I feel like adding a second floor, at that point, the shell is completely different, you know? So just keep that in mind. You just gotta kind of think about like, okay, you know, balconies are fine, but walls, it's really the walls that are the problem. So if you ever have any questions, just stop and think, okay, is this changing the walls? And if it is, listen, here's kind of my thought process on this too. When it comes to challenges in The Sims, I'm not really a stickler for the rules, okay? Because if you're gonna have more fun by breaking the rules, like if you simply need to add a basement because without it, the build is pointless to you, by all means, add a basement. Like this isn't really about like, you know, following the rules to a T. It's about having fun doing a Sims build, you know? So you can stretch the rules a little bit if you must. I'm not here to judge. I won't say anything. Now, I am gonna do a tour video of this shell, so a couple things of note for that. You have to put your build on hashtag #SimsieChicken for me to see it, otherwise I won't be able to find it on the gallery. If you want me to tour your build, I wouldn't use any custom content. You can totally use CC just for fun, but if you care about me seeing it, if you use CC, I won't be able to download it because it'll delete all the items. But also keep in mind that there are gonna be thousands of builds on the gallery, especially because this is a small one and more people are gonna do it. So while I would love to be able to see every single one of your builds, I just won't be able to. I always try and go through and comment on as many of them as I can, but at the end of the day, the gallery is glitchy, it stops loading sometimes, it like won't show me further ones after a certain point. I am sure we are all very familiar with this problem, so just keep that in mind. Like I probably won't be able to see yours even if I try. So if you're gonna be devastated if I don't get a chance to see it, maybe sit this one out because I don't want to like hurt anybody's feelings. You should be doing it because you want to do a build and you're gonna have fun making the build, and not so much because you want me to see it. You know, does that make sense? Because I'd love to see it too, but we can't control the gallery. At the end of the day, there's too many of us and the gallery does not like it. But that, my friends, is the entire speed build. Now I kind of want to pop into the game and show you what I actually built, like more up close. So I built my lot over here in the back of Brindleton Bay. You can see this is my Simsie chicken shell. I try really hard to put a bunch of trees in the lot to kind of like blend it into the forest around it. And when you first come up to the lot, you can see we've got this big wraparound front porch. I think that really helped with trying to make this weird bump out fit in better. It also took me ages to figure out the color scheme, but I feel like at the end of the day, it kind of works with the stucco, the brick, and this little paneling up top. The porch here has a little rocking chair. It's got this little like door to the utility room, so I put a hose outside, and then we have the little laundry in that space. So that's how I use the weird 2x1 bump out. Over on the left side, we've got the backyard. It has a swing set. It's got a bunch of garden planters. It's got that little like flower arranging table. We also have a bike and a birdhouse. And then further back on the other side of the house, we have this little like patio area. This one has a little table and a grill and also a telescope. Be warned, that is deadly sometimes. On the inside of the house, you can see there's not really a lot of space, but we have this main like living area. Back in the back is the kitchen. I tried really hard to put a lot of clutter and stuff. We've got like a little shelf above the stove. I've got some pet treats on top of the fridge. There's like some pet bowls and aprons and stuff. We have this little dining area, and again, all of the doors that I think is a little bit weird, but is probably fine. By the entrance, I put like some umbrellas and some shoes. There's like a little coat rack. I also have some bills on the table. I really tried to make this place seem like lively. Here we have the little living room. Oh my God, there's a tree clipping. How did I not notice that? Oh no. Oh, Simsie. Okay, well, we have a tree in the wall in the living room. This is that back door to the patio. Over here, we've got a hall bathroom. This one has a tub, so you can wash the dog, don't worry. We've got that little kids room that I was talking about, and I am so proud of. And then we have the main primary suite. This one has an ensuite bathroom. There is a shower in this house, and it also has this little closet area, which I feel like is really nice. You don't actually need this. Like, your Sims don't actually do anything with this, but it's realistic, I guess. And overall, I think I'm really proud of this house. I love the interior. I kind of want to play in it. Of course, the finished version of my build's on the gallery, as is the empty shell if you want to download it and try and do it yourself. I am just so excited to see all your builds and what you come up with. And with that, I'm probably going to end this video right here. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you check out 2 Dots. I've got that link down below so you can download the app. It's really, really fun. You've got 2 big puzzles today. The new puzzles in 2 Dots, but also the puzzle of this shell challenge. If you like this video, I make Sims videos like this one literally every single day, so feel free to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And with that being said, I'm gonna catch you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody. You know what? I think part of why I like this shell so much is because it was easy. This one did not cause me pain. It didn't make me cry. I didn't bulldoze it or rage quit, unlike the last one, which I cannot say the same for. The last one was miserable, and I did it to myself.